Hey, eighth grade. So it's the end of the school year, and I tend to get pretty nostalgic here at the end of things just because, for a couple of reasons. Number one, it was my first year teaching, and you guys were my first group of kids, my first group of students. And you're always going to hold a special place in my heart. And I just start crying when I think about it because we're here at the end and we had those last 2 months taken away from us because of what's happening in the world. And that's okay. It could have been better. We could have had all that time together, but I know that it's been a learning experience for all of us and that we've made it work. And yeah, I haven't got to teach you everything I wanted to, but I hope I've still taught you something and something that you'll remember and something that you'll be able to take with you for the rest of your lives. And that'll be great. And so, because of just that kind of thinking and where things can go from here, I thought it would be best to spend this week in particular working on something that is going to make you think about who you are and what you've been learning and just where you are in life right now. Because just in this nostalgic mood and this looking back on things and being so happy about it, I think it'd be rather interesting if you guys would take some time to take note of who you are right now so that later on you can see if you're still that same person or if you've changed. So I'm just going to hop into things and show you what I'm talking about because if you've already logged on to GradeLink, you've seen something that's called a letter to me. And you may have clicked on this thing, on this document that I'm going to read through to you right now. So you should be able to see this. So let's just hop in this and see what it looks like. Okay, I'm in the big screen now. This is great. Okay, so I write here, so I'll just read this to you. So wouldn't it be quite interesting to take a snapshot of who you are right now, only to find that person years again in the future? Like when you graduate high school. You're right on the edge of something incredible, that transition from middle school to high school. I know it may not seem all that grand or great because you're not really leaving a school to go to a next one, or at least some of you aren't. I don't think most of you are, but most of you are, you're just going from eighth grade to ninth grade, but you're still going to be at RCA. You're still going to be in the same school. But some of you, you may be moving to the high school or what have you, and that's all fine and good. But regardless, this is a big deal. The jump from middle school to high school is huge because, as I say right here, the next 4 years will be a time of great change and great personal growth for all of you. The person you are right now will not be the person you are 4 years' time from now. So it's 2020 right now. In 2024, I'm still going to recognize all of you. You'll still look the same, but you're going to grow and you're going to develop into someone that you may not even recognize anymore, hopefully for the better. But that's really what you're going to be doing in this letter. So I think it'd be a perfect time to write that future letter to your future self. So this letter that you're writing will need to outline who you currently are so that you can see who you were then or now and compare that with who you're going to become. So what I'm going to do for you guys is when you guys finish these, I'm actually going to print these out and hold on to these letters. And then when you graduate high school or shortly before you graduate high school, I will actually mail these letters to you or get this letter to you somehow, some way. Through any way that I need to, I'll get this thing to you. So I'm going to hold them in a safe place for 4 years, and then you'll receive them shortly before you graduate. And I will make absolutely sure that you receive this letter. If I'm going to hold on to this thing for 4 years for you, it needs to be a pretty important letter. And that's why the purpose of this assignment is really fourfold. So the first one is that it's meant to provide a record of who you are right now. What that means is you're basically just going to, talk about who you are right now, and I'll get to some more finer details on that in a second, but that's the first point. The second purpose is that you're going to anchor in time your current views, attitudes, any personal philosophies that you have, and your general outlook towards life. You're also going to be able to explore your current feelings and attitudes about anything you wish. But then ultimately, the fourth purpose of this, probably the most important, is to create a document that years from now will have significant value to you. So I know that some of you are more nostalgic than others, and some of you just kind of live your lives day to day. But regardless of whether you are the more nostalgic or you're not all that nostalgic, this letter still needs to be something that's going to be significant to you in some way. So write it well. Okay, we're not looking for world class Pulitzer Prize winning writing here, um, Caldecott medal, piece of children's literature here. We're not looking for anything like that. We're just looking for something that's going to be important to you. So work hard on this, make it count, and just go for it. So the following topics down here are more suggestions, and this is by no means an exhaustive list, meaning that you don't have to stick to just these things. You can write anything you want to, or nor do you have to include everything below. As you're writing this letter, you don't have to go through this and be like, "Oop, I did hopes, I did fears, I did dreams. Oop, I didn't do my intentions, but I did do my goals and problems. Maybe I should go back and do intentions." No, you don't have to go. This is not a checklist, okay? This isn't a checklist at all. This is more like just a list of suggestions, if you will, on what you could write or not write. The letter is yours, so you can include whatever you wish. But ultimately, it comes down to what I've said right here. Think about what you would want your future self to know and or remember about you now. And whatever that is, those are the things that need to be included in the letter. Okay? And then, of course, I've got this other stuff in here. Now, here's the big instructions on what you really need to be focused on. So your letter has to be at least 1.5 pages minimum, but I don't want any more than 3 pages. And I'm giving you guys a maximum limit because I know some of you would just write, and we'd end up with a whole novel, and we don't want that. So I'm limiting those of you who know who you are. And that's not a dig at you guys. I just know who you are, and I'm giving you a limit so you don't overexert yourself. At least 1.5 pages minimum, but no more than 3 pages. And it needs to be in a Times New Roman font, at the size 12, and it needs to be double spaced. I'll jump into that in a second. But basically how you'll submit this is you'll make a new Google Doc, you'll title it with your last name, comma, letter to me, and then anytime between Monday through Wednesday, this is going into due dates, but at least by Wednesday, you must let me know when you would like some feedback. So at any time between Monday through Wednesday, if you want to do it on Tuesday, that's great. Just send me a message over Hangouts. You can send me an email that like, "Hey, Mr. Marsh, can you go look over my Google Doc or go look over my letter to me and just give me some feedback on it." And I'll do that. Okay. So whenever you guys send me an email or send me a Hangouts message, I'll jump in and I'll go through and give you some comments, give you some suggestions on things you could work on, just to make this more significant to you. But you have to do that. I'm not, of course, there's not a grade attached to that, but that will be part, not an official grade, but that'll be part of the completion part. So if you don't do that by Wednesday, I'll take off 10 or so points if you didn't let me know. Okay, because I want to help you guys, and this is the best way that we can do this, not being in a classroom. So that is there. So just please make sure that you do that, or you will lose the points. And I'll make a note on this when I get done with this, just so you guys can have that. But by this Friday, your final completed draft of the letter will be due. Okay, so just make sure that I've gotten something by then if you did not follow the Wednesday thing here, which you really need to do. So when you return to school to return your books, which I would really like for all of you to do that. You have to send someone to return your books, but we'll get in. You'll be receiving some information on specific dates and how we're going to be doing that later. But whenever you return to school to turn back in your books and stuff, I'll actually have the letters in a physical copy with your name at the bottom of it, and you'll actually, as if it was a real letter, you'll sign your name to the letter so that you'll actually have your signature as an 8th grader on the letter, which may be a cool thing to see if that changes in 4 years' time. And you'll sign it, and then you will seal it in an envelope and put your name on it, and I will keep that letter for 4 years, and then you'll get it before you graduate. So you're going to be graded upon completion, 70 points. So basically, as long as you do this thing and you actually write, the full pages, or you write a full 1.5 page minimum, you follow all this stuff, you write a complete letter, you get 70 points. But if you miss that thing on Wednesday, or by Wednesday, I'll take off 10 points. And if there's some issues with formatting and, spacing and that kind of stuff, I'll take off some additional points there as well. But that's where the completional stuff will come from. Content, that's just that you wrote a decent letter. That's what that's about. Did you include enough stuff in it? Did you write some really significant things about you? Did you define who you were in the now? who are you right now at the end of, or in the middle of May 2020. And then finally, readability, which includes appropriate grammar, punctuation, and just like an appropriate style. That'll be worth 15 points. And that brings me to my next thing about this letter. Some of you may want to write this very self-referential, which means like you can write, to my future self. I wonder what the last 4 years have been doing for you. But right now, this is who I am. You can write it like that if you want to. You can just write it general, like this is who I am, but you need to be conscious of the fact that you are writing to someone in the future, okay? So you could be like, right now, my hopes and dreams are this, but you're not really asking questions of your future self. You're just more like writing it to them, if that helps. But if there's any questions on that, I'll be certain to clarify that later on. But I just want you guys to play with it and see what you can come up with initially. But just so you guys know what you're doing, this is the part of the video where if you want to pause it and like actually pull up everything or pull up a new Google Doc, I'll show you what you need to do to actually, format everything correctly right now. So I'm gonna put myself down here in the corner and we'll go to here. So once you click on this, and you're on this document and you're following along, if you just go over to File and click New, you can click New Document here. And once that's set up, the first thing you'll need to do is actually put your last name up here. So you'll want to type your last name here, and then all you'll need to do is just put letter to me, okay? And then you'll need to make sure that you set your font in Times New Roman, go over here to font size, select 12, and then the most important thing you'll need to do is go right over here to where this line spacing option is. It's got this arrow going up and down on it with these 3 lines. You'll click on that, and then you'll want to make sure that you click double, okay? And that is all you need to do. You can start off with dear future self, or something like dear 2024 self, or to the person who is about to graduate high school. You can do anything you want to after that. You just need some kind of greeting, and then you'll just, you'll need some kind of greeting of some sort with a comma, go down, and then just start a new paragraph, of course. And I'll leave it up to you guys. Letter writing is weird, so like you can indent it if you want to, or you can just like separate the paragraphs with like enter by hitting the enter key. It's completely up to you how you want to do that. But then when you get to the end, you'll just want to make sure that you actually sign your name at the bottom, and that'll basically be it. So yeah, so just make sure that you hit the you go to File, New, title it appropriately with this. Make sure you put your last name in there, Times New Roman 12, and make sure you hit the double on the spacing. And that is pretty much it. So if you guys have any questions about that, just let me know. This is basically what you're going to be doing for writing class for the rest of the week. You're only going to have one Coronavirus Chronicle entry for the week, so make sure it's a good one, because that's going to count as a grade for the whole thing, since you won't really have an average for this week. But that will be on Wednesday. So basically, you're just going to be writing this letter and writing that one entry for the week. And you'll have another video explaining that entry later on. So if you guys have any questions about this letter, or you need some guidance on like how to write it, just let me know. The best thing to do that I would start off with is just going through that list of things that I've given you and picking what you want to do and just writing out some brief thoughts. Like, don't even write it in letter form just yet. Just write out like, oh, my likes. Well, I like this TV show. This was my favorite movie this year. This was that. Oh, these are the people that I like, and just start just putting out stuff, okay? And that's all you really need to work on for the beginning part of this. And you can start drafting it after you do that. I think that'll help some of you guys that need a little bit more structure. But other than that, that's everything for today. If you've got any questions, please let me know. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with for these letters.